Notes to Myself. A series of articles written by Dr Ashok Da Ranade for the magazine Gentleman. Music that just happens. There is no audience in folk music. Here, all are music makers. Now onwards, I will not write on music. I will talk about music. That is what folk music does. It speaks and directly reaches you. It is not merely audio. It often appeals to many senses at the same time. How does it create this magic? Mainly because it alertly responds to 3 cycles in human life. The 3 cycles are birth, death, day, night, and of course, seasons. Irrespective of caste, creed, religion, age, sex, etc., the 3 cycles make us move with them. And music inseparably keeps company. As if different life phases shaped by the 3 cycles will remain incomplete without music. If we only notice, even in Mumbai, the revolutions of these cycles impress as smells, tastes, touches and sounds, and of course, light and shade change. Of such changes, folk music chooses to sing. Mind you, it is not the sweetness of music offered, or the skill of musicians concerned, or the knowledge of listeners involved that make folk music real. Folk music becomes real because it has innate connections with our life. Folk music appeals, not because of its high artistic content, but because of its indifference to being artistic or aesthetic. If I may say so, it is too real to be artistic. Look at and listen to folk music instruments. Experts opine that the folk music category is complete as it includes abundant expression of the 4 major instrumental classes. For example, it has instruments which sound as the entire body of the instrument vibrates, like gongs, jhans, rattle, or those instruments which have vibrating membranes, like drums, or others that rely on a vibrating air column, algoja, or some which consist of vibrating strings, tuntune, ektari. The point usually overlooked is none of the folk instruments sound sweet, smooth and pleasing. Harsh strokes, jagged melodies, and limited tonal variety proclaim their authenticity. And yet, who can deny their appeal? The reason is obvious. Folk instruments, perhaps rather deceptively, do generate a comforting feeling among listeners. The listener thinks, "This is simple, even I can play it." I remember a folk musician telling me, "Sab, our instruments are so simple, any tin can become a drum and any pipe a flute." I must have looked unconvinced, so he thoughtfully added, "And they need no maintenance." It is the use that turns an object into an instrument, and unfortunately the reverse is also equally true. Folk music lives in full-blooded participation and not in cold, distant appreciation. It is the only form of music which is for, of, and by the folks themselves. A lullaby becomes a lullaby when a mother sings it to a child, and not when a lori from a film is played back. A song becomes a work song when every working hand gives it a voice. Same it is with a game song or a drinking song. The urban convention is to organize programs of polished, rehearsed and arranged folk music. Then what we usually get are, of course, folkish presentations. But just as blackish is less than black, similarly folkish is less than folk. To be true to folk music and to yourselves, sing it, play it, dance it. Do not care what others have to say. Anyway, they are going to bite once your back is turned. For, as folk musicians have often told me, to sing a folk song or to join in folk music, you do not need a voice. You need a will. And of course, some daring. The abundance of recorded folk music and the increasing urban romanticism about its melodiousness, beauty, soulfulness and artistry have done great harm in diverting from its main purpose of making everybody just do it. Folk music is extremely self-sufficient. Birth, daybreak, first crop, initiation, beginning of a learning process, death, recovery from an illness, happiness of reaching somewhere, all such events mark the 3 cycles. Music deepens the impact of these events on our mind. Hence, folk music. The music maker produces folk music, and in that moment it is made. There is no audience in folk music, as all are makers of music. Events marked on the 3 cycles ask for your participation and not judgment. These events do not need anybody's sanction, justification or legitimization. I once heard a Varli Ghangali player. The instrument, a veena with a gourd, is so soft that it cannot be heard at 2 or 3 feet. I asked him, "What makes you play it if nobody can hear it?" He kept quiet for a moment, strumming the strings lightly, and then said, "But I can hear it when I play." I persisted and decided to take another angle. I asked, "When do you play it?" He replied, "When I am happy." I asked, "And what if you are unhappy?" He replied, "Then I play Ghangali." A paradox fit for Zeno, if you agree.
उदयक नाग्र पंचमी आले विंटाळाने वेळ साधली वहा